Hello everyone. My name is Oleg. I'm very happy to start another episode of our Polyamory Chat. I'm here in New York still, and we have our panel, our lovely co-hosts tonight. It's Justin. Justin, hello. Can you hear me well? You can.
Yes, thank you so much for the intro. My name is Dr. Justin Terry Smith, and I live in New Mexico.
Wonderful. And Sergio, hello. How are you doing?
Hi from San Francisco.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And we have a couple of guests. We have Wick. He joined us last time. Hello. How are you doing?
Since we've last met, as I mentioned earlier before we went live, I have another partner, which is exciting.
How did it happen? Well, since you dropped the bomb, now you have to sell everything.
Okay. Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'm taking care of my parents part-time in Tennessee, out of all places. And I joined a bear group. And one of the individuals in the bear group and I hit it off really well. And I went over last weekend from where I am in Tennessee to Knoxville. And we spent an entire evening, and it was a lot of fun. And we've discovered that we have a lot in common. And one of the things that he mentioned was, oh, by the way, I'm poly. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just did a poly chat like a couple weeks ago. So we have a lot in common. And I'm hoping that as we continue to get to know each other better, that we continue to discover that we have a lot in common and that he becomes becomes one of my partners.
So you live in Fort Lauderdale, as far as I remember.
Yes, my residence is in Fort Lauderdale. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And this new boyfriend, he lives where?
He lives north of Knoxville I don't remember the exact city, but it's about an hour north of Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over in an area around Nashville, so I have to go through Chattanooga to get to Knoxville. So everything's a long distance around here. It's about a 3 hour drive.
Oh, 3 hours drive. Okay.
But
Okay.
we're having a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to meet someone new and start the process of getting to know and normalize and building the relationship.
And he is polyamory as well, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he volunteered to me that he was, which surprised me a lot. I didn't realize that there were as many people that were poly as to run into someone out of all places in Tennessee.
Mm. And he's single, or he has partners or boyfriends or husbands, or
He has an ex-partner that he's no longer in direct contact with.
mm-hmm.
Long
Mm-hmm.
story, but he's not.
So the only relationship as of now he has with you, right?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
I see. I see. Oof, wonderful.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah. So you're not in Miami. Oh, you're not in Fort Lauderdale right now.
Today I'm in just south of Nashville. This is where I'm at right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining in again. And if you open about your lifestyle and stuff like that, I guess it's easier to make friends or boyfriends or friends with benefits, anything like that, right?
It is, and sometimes you just step into the relationship with someone that you're well matched with, and it just happens. It's kind of, I don't want to say magic, but randomness happens. Goodness, randomness happens. I was surprised, I must admit.
And I also want to introduce Kairos. We have Kairos today with us. So welcome to Poly Chat, and you located in South California.
Southern California, yeah. I'm about halfway between Los Angeles and San Diego.
Right. And you've been in polyamory relationship for at least 15 years.
My current relationship, the three of us have been together 15 years, yes.
15 years. So would you call yourself a Throuple, Triad, Polycle?
We use Throuple or Triad or husbands.
Yeah.
We
okay.
Yeah, good.
And then two of you has a legal marriage, and
two of us are legally married, but we've actually had a ceremony for the three of us. I actually based it on an old hand fasting tradition. There's actually video, if you guys want, I can share it with you guys later. But we did it at a place called Lazy Bear there in San Francisco when we were living up there. We rented out the thing for the night. We had all our friends come in and we made braided cords, and the three of us stood in the front, held our hands together, and then the officiant wrapped our hands in the cord, and then we had enough for each person in the audience or our wedding party come up and wrap our hands as well. And when we're done, we pulled our hands out, and we ended up with this big knot of these tied together ribbons, and it's actually in a chest down in our library.
That is so fucking, that is so cute.
Jason, go ahead.
Why did your camera, Sergio's camera just went?
Yeah, I noticed.
Would you mind sharing that in the group? Because I know there's some other people that are in Throuples that would love to see how
Sure.
you did it. Because
Yeah, I'm happy
Go
to.
okay.
And I wrote the ceremony myself. I'm an ordained minister myself, so I actually wrote the ceremony, and we did our own vows. But it's like all of that. So yeah, I'm happy to share that with anybody.
Okay. The reason why I ask is because when I first started my with my relationships, I have 4 partners, as a lot of you know. 2 of which who are married, and me, I'm married to my husband, and then there's I guess my second partner, our third. So at first he said, I don't want to get married, and now that mentality has maybe changed, and so I'm looking at options.
I have one more question, Karis. So would you consider yourself, your relationship between three of you are equal, or there is some like primary partner, or how would you describe it?
David and I were together for 2 years before we started dating Scott, but we were all friends. They were actually friends longer than I've known either one of them. So, but it just kind of fell together. We kind of just clicked together. So there's no hierarchy at all. We have a California king bed with a twin that's pushed up against it, so the 3 of us sleep all together here, and have for the entire. Well, when we first got together, we just shared one king size bed, but big boys, and that was a little tight.
We have like what's called a family bed. You can find it online. It's like Kyra's like, yeah, I know where that is. I know what that is.
We've talked about doing
like,
it, but we have Tempur-Pedics, and it's like you can't get a Tempur-Pedic in that size.
Oh.
So,
but definitely it'll raise up and do whatever you need to do. So yeah, it does help with that. Well, whatever, you know what I mean. So, so yeah, but I also wanted to say that as far as my opinion is concerned, there is a little bit of truth to hierarchical polyamory.
So the question today is about hierarchical polyamory, right?
Yes.
Olin, what's your definition, or Dr. Dash, what's your definition of hierarchical polyamory?
I'd like to go since I was interrupted.
Okay,
so
please do. Yeah.
So hierarchical, I mean, if you technically look it up, if you Google hierarchical polyamory, the definition is in a polyamorous relationship, the type of polyamorous relationship where some partners are considered more important than others, right? So of course that definition is a little technical, right? It's kind of like one is more important than the other. It's not really the case. Like that's not what I think, for me at least, is the case at all. However, there are aspects of my husband that my partners don't have, right? So legally in the society that we live in, I have to say my emergency contact, who is that? Okay, from my 9 to 5, legally, that's the husband. Like it's kind of hard for me to say, no, this is not, there's only can be, and I'm like, can there be multiple people? And of course there can be multiple people in the, of course, emergency plan, right? But as long as some people's companies only have like 2 slots for that, or only have 1. And so it's kind of like, what are you supposed to do? Right. And then of course you have to make a caveat or an amendment to it. And so it's kind of really hard to not have that in this society that we live in because it's built for monogamy, right? So it's kind of like, oh, this sucks. It's built for monogamy. However, the definition of being more important than another partner, I don't think that's right at all. Like, I think that that's bullshit. Because I mean, my husband and I have been together for 19 years. My other partner, 2, and the other 2 partners have been with us for 8 months. So it's kind of like, I don't see them as more important than the other. I just see them as different from the other.
My understanding of this definition at the very beginning, it was sound actually difficult for me to understand what does it mean. For me personally, I think it's very hard to be equal because like to spend like I think to try to be equal, you have to live together, you have to do things together, etc., which I've never experienced. All my partners have lived, other places, other cities, other states. So I've spent time with one person and then with another and then another. And one boyfriend he lived in the same city, so obviously we spend more time together. But other boyfriends, they lived in other states, so we see each other only not so often, right? So for that situation was very hard for me to be like equal. Yeah, Kairos, tell me how equal you are to each other.
Well, I mean, the 3 of us have lived together for all these years. But I don't think it's necessary to live together to have a non-hierarchical. But as you mentioned, it does. There are certain things when you live with someone, you share bills with someone, etc. There are going to be certain aspects of the relationship that are different.
How about open relationship or closed relationship?
Open.
How is it in your case? Open? Did you say open?
Yes,
Okay.
open.
That's kind of interesting. All right, combination. Sergio? Yeah, go ahead.
I think along the lines of Dr. Dash over there, where there can be some elements of our relationships that feel or can be hierarchical, right? I think inevitably with my first partner, when I got my second partner, I'd known my first partner already for a very long time. So I think it's natural for us to want to create some sort of sense of like priority sometimes with regard to, for me, was my original partner, to make sure that that person still felt loved while I was doing something over here, and also realizing that in a new relationship requires a certain amount of attention and a certain amount of time and a certain amount of getting to know each other, right? So I think that as I've progressed in my journey, and again, I have nothing against hierarchical relationships, right? I have friends for whom they work very well, in a sense. But for myself, I think as my relationship and I have grown and evolved, it's become less hierarchical as it goes on, right? I had a really beautiful second partner where we were on the same page, which made that adjustment very easy. But when I met my third partner, like one of you out there was saying, very green, had not been in a situation of non-monogamy and had not done that before, and had not, I was open, I'm poly, I'm this, I'm that. Kind of tricked me a little bit because he's like, yeah, I'm totally cool with it. But there was a learning process, right? That created a sense of like, for a while, maybe created a sense of priority versus hierarchy. And I think that that's where it has changed for my relationships. That hierarchy has changed into an ever-changing flow of priorities of what I need to do, right? So very consciously, when I, started dating my third partner, I had conversations with my first 2 partners about like, this is going to be something that I'm going to probably need to dedicate a little bit more time to, right? Or something like that, in which my partners are all kind of at the same level in that sense, right? Even if not at the same level of experience. But that is something that has worked for me, or has evolved for me, as I've gone, further ahead. there's an added layer there of hierarchy that I can bring up right now. I'll bring up right now because it is a very important part of my life. And despite, let me backtrack a little bit. I went from using terms in my journey like primary partner and secondary partners, which as I evolved were terms that I decided I didn't really like to use. Sometimes I use the partner that I spend the most time with because we're the closest in proximity. And the one that I like to spend time with, or in a certain way, I call sometimes my nesting partner. So in that evolution of hierarchy, I've also kind of learned other terms that just kind of describe that situation a little bit different. But the one thing that I do want to add into that, because it is a big part of who I am, is I am a very active and community organizing member of the leather, the kink, and the BDSM community. So even though my partners are all equal to me, there is some hierarchy based on the power dynamics in how we express our relationships when we're together in sexual or kinky settings. So one of my partners may be a little bit more into something than the others, but within my relationship and those settings, there are certain hierarchical structures that are based on interests and practices like kink and BDSM, right? So, to one of my partners, he is a partner, he's a lover, but I'm also I'm his sir, right? And he's my boy in that particular kink and BDSM setting. So I say that now we don't have to dive into it, because there can be a complexity of relationships within even one relationship and across the board with all of your relationships. And as confusing as that may be, it is very enriching, and it is been a really beautiful growth, experience for me to be able to explore that differently with each one of them.
I have a question to you, Sergio. Are you in a throuple or it's a solo poly? So does your
It's like a W.
partners?
I got me a little W.
And you obviously on the middle somewhere.
But I am at a point I've been with everybody so long that they have all met each other. We've all gone through the process of kind of getting to know each other and everything. And there are things a couple times a year where I am able to have them all together, which I have to say is very overwhelming. But there are situations if you're there. But yes, I am in relationship with them. They are not in relationship with each other, even though they are sometimes in contact. They'll connect. That when they travel to another city, they'll connect with each other. Or plan my birthday, stuff like that, where they all get involved on their own, right? But I have my own relationship with each one of them, and none of them has a responsibility to be or anything that have to communicate with anybody else. Thankfully, they all get along really well, and they all want to know what's happening in each other's lives.
If you want to have non-hierarchical relationship, it has to be a throuple or it still could be a solo polyamory?
No, not at all. I mean, sorry, for me, let me speak for me. No. Not at all. I mean, I've seen people in polyamorous relationships that have had 6 people in a polycule living together and nobody's above anybody else. They all have their own things that they take care of, but I mean, they have a non-hierarchical polyamorous polyamorous relationship. So it's kind of, go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you want to be equal, it's like
you said, do you have to be a throuple? And I said no.
I mean, because for example, my situation was that my partners, my boyfriends, they didn't connect to each other. So my question is, I cannot make this relationship non-hierarchical because they don't know each other. I mean, yeah, they never met each other.
You can make it non-hierarchical.
Yeah, I agree with him. You can make it non-hierarchical because it's on how you view them.
It's you, right? It's kind of like, it's all about you, Oleg. It's all about you.
Okay. So what does it exactly mean?
I mean,
time I spend?
Okay. Okay, so you had a V formation, is that correct? So they did not connect, they connected here based on you.
Yeah.
So you treat them both the same. You treat them both the same. You have the same feelings for both. You have the same responsibility in your life. You have the same responsibility in their life. So basically, that would be a non-hierarchical relationship with a person in a V formation.
And if they live in different places or on a different distance, I can still.
Okay, so you're talking
because
about
yeah.
That's a great question, because for a very long time, two of my partners lived in LA. Now two live in San Francisco and one in LA. My longest standing partner is the one that lives in LA. And I have to tell you, he's my longest relationship, and we have spent more time long distance than we ever spent together, like in the same place. But we have a structure, like, every Monday night at 8 p.m. I have a date night with him, and we take a time, we sit down. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2 hours, and we sit down and we just talk about our weeks, as mundane as it may be, right? Because that makes me a witness to what he's experiencing down in while he's living in LA, right? And that's something that has worked for us, right? We have certain times during the year, like I try to go down to LA once every couple months, right? And he tries to come down here. His schedule is different. He works in nightlife, so isn't always a possibility for him to fly up. But like we have created a structure and a foundation around what our relationship, to make sure that we continue to be present in each other's lives, and are actively knowing about what's going on in our lives, right? And that is not just like your everyday. Like sometimes it's talking about how we're doing in our relationships. Is that something that we've agreed to do? That, like, how are things are going with your partner? How are things going with the other boys? Like, which are different conversations that you start piling up, and that you agree to what you can and cannot talk about. Because still, I love my partner. I still want to know how he's doing in his relationship with somebody else, with my metamor, I guess is what you would call, right? So it's absolutely doable. And again, like, it's all about a mindset of how I'm treating people, right? Like my Monday night, all of my partners know that, like, Monday nights, there will not be anything that we will ever do on a Monday night, because this is my time to be able to spend with, partner A down in LA. And that's just kind of one of the things, or that one of the ways that we kind of stay connected and try to keep it. So whenever he comes up to visit, he's appraised of everything that's happening in my life up here in one way or another. And we find different ways of doing it.
Thank you.
So there's a comment that was in the, so I'm trying to keep up with the comments just to make sure. So Vic writes, I view an open relationship as different than a poly relationship. Poly to me includes the emotional element. I have an open relationship that includes hookups that don't have that emotional element, right? So I kind of wanted to speak on that, because I think it's an interesting comment, right? So like for me, like we're all open. Like, so this is us, like right there. So that's us, right? So that's how we're all connected. However, we are open to, if I see a guy that I like, or see a woman that I like, or see a trans man that I like, they let me. They're like, go for it. I'm like, great, no problem. So that doesn't mean that I don't have any emotional connection to that person that I'm going to sleep with, right? So even if I don't look for a relationship with them, I'm still going to have a connection with them, right? Because I'm kind of a demisexual in a way. Like I kind of need a connection like a connection to have sex with you, or to be sexual with you. And if that connection is highly sexual, then that's still a connection. And so I kind of like, especially when it comes to being a sapiosexual, like if you got it up here, then you got it everywhere on my body. So just saying, like, I kind of like if you're intelligent, I get that connection with you. I maybe you're not part of my polycule, but I still have a connection with you. Like, and who knows, that might change in the future, because I might say, okay, so let's say Sergio, right? We meet up and the connection is great, it's strong, it's like it's where it's at. And then of course he has his I'm sorry, Sergio, I don't want to misrepresent, but you have your poly relationship, I'll just say poly relationship, and I have my polycule here. But the only connection is just me and Sergio. So it still could work out that way. I mean, you never know. Like, I could just take a plane to San Francisco tomorrow or something.
Justin, you say something really important, which I guess I want to expand on, kind of like my polyamory, right? Because my polyamory isn't just limited to my partners. I realize that, like, there have been people in my life that I have had a connection with, emotional as well as sexual, for example, that doesn't necessarily lead to a relationship. And I categorize those for myself as sexual friendships, which are, to me, are a different kind of a polyamorous partner, right? And I have people, for example, beautiful, friendships that are also lovers that, I've carried for the last 10 years. And I think that was also something very influential in my polyamorous life. was that I didn't want to have to give the love and the connection that I do have with these people, up in that situation. And it's a really beautiful thing because, again, it's just a different kind of a relationship where the expectations are clear for both of us, right? It doesn't, I have a different, or I still have love for these partners, for these sexual friendships, right? And I think that, yeah, I think that I would consider them, because there is a little bit of an emotional connection there, that I would um, that I would consider them part of like my polyamory as well, right? And that can sometimes happen, to be honest, with like, you know, again, like even with like, a hookup or a one night stand, where I think we've all had that experience where it has such a great one night stand and a great connection with this person, and maybe you never see them again, but they walk away. I say you'll always walk away, if when you sleep with me, you'll always walk away with a little bit of my heart, so like you have to, and my polyamory allows me to make room for all of those people in my life, right? So that if we ever were to connect again, or to be able to do that, like, to be able to be in that situation again, we have something to work off of.
So non-hierarchical relationship means that you're equal to each other. So when Justin, you showed your picture of your 5 of you and your political, so this is non-hierarchical relationship. No, you're equal
So
to each
that's
other.
that diagram is just how we're connected. That's all that is. It's just kind of like a map, right?
Okay.
So it's like, okay, so let's just say me, you, Kairos, Vic, Cedric, and Sergio were all together. I'm just using that people here. And we're all connected. I mean, we all have sex with each other. We're all romantic with each other. We're all intimate with each other. And we all spend time with each other. So all 5 of us would be connected in something like this, like, right? So it would look like something like this because all the lines are connected with all the dots. So, however, I know that in a way, the couple that is married, I know that is they are each other's person, right? I know that's solid with them.
Which is
So
your
like
husband.
No.
Your husband.
So I have a husband, yes, and then we have a partner, right? And it is somewhat equal, but not really. Like there are aspects to non-hierarchical and there's aspects to hierarchical, right? So, but I know that our other partners who are 2 men who are married, I know that I know that would be hierarchical because that is their person. Like I know that is their person. The other person, whatever, their person. So so I know that with them it's hierarchical. With us, it's like aspects of both, but having the relationship grow, and as Sergio even said, like having like kind of like I've never said, I've never used primary partner, I don't think, maybe on accident. It's been a long time. Or secondary partner or tertiary partner or whatever. But I have used the numbers just to count how many I have. So it's not really meant it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just kind of like, oh, 4 is enough. And then me, that's 5. That's interesting.
And also like, I miss Anthony because Anthony's usually like brings up like an interesting different perspective around things, right? But that begs the question, I've had friends that have been in this situation, right? When you are, in a what you would call a non-hierarchical polycule, right? What does a breakup look like? If you're really non-hierarchical, right? If that means if you're in a triad, for example, and you are really truly equal, if one of your partners isn't getting along with another, does that mean that the entire relationship is dissolved, right? So there are more complex questions that go into that hierarchy that you don't have to have them answered at the beginning, but as you go through that journey, you do realize that like we have predisposed hierarchical biases in our head, right? If you've been with a partner for 20 years and your new partner has only been here for like 3, right? There's some implicit bias that we kind of carry in the back of who has priority maybe because of that. So it's a complexity because those things exist, right? And I think that part of polyamory is discovering those things, being able to have conversations about them, and figuring out what it is that works for everybody else, right?
Well, I have a question. When I realized that in polyamory, I don't have to keep everybody equal or try to make it like non-hierarchical, that I can, the first partner could be my primary partner, and then the next one could be my boyfriend, and it's up to me, up to them, up to us to decide, how do we put priorities. For me personally, it was easier to do it that way, because back in the day, many years ago, when I first heard about something about polyamory, immediately, like probably many people, I thought, oh, it has to be a throuple, we have to live together, everybody has to like each other, etc. We have to do things together. And it sounds almost impossible, right? But that's what the first impression a lot of people have when they hear about polyamory. They think they kind of trying to copy and paste a monogamy relationship. If you have a husband or wife, doesn't matter in this case, and like you have to have just one more equal person just like that, which is nearly impossible, right? So because like it's just impossible, because maybe your partner is complete opposite of who you are, so, and he likes who you are, so who is this third person? Has to be 50% of you, 50% of your husband, right? Let's say of race or age or something like that. Like Justin before said, he likes different flavors and all of that. That was my case. So all of my 3 boyfriends were 3 different ages and 3 different skin tone and race and even languages that they speak. So it's like, for me it's like impossible. Like everybody likes different kind of food, different kind of music, different kind of places to go to visit. One wants to go to Europe, another wants to go on the cruise, and the third one, we went to Mexico to celebrate his birthday. So like there's definitely not like non-hierarchical, like it's impossible to put them all at the same time in one boat. So when I realized that I can do polyamory that way, for me it was like, oh, I can do that. Like I can do one thing at the time with this, one person. Yeah, Sergio.
We've been talking a lot about equal. I want to change that word for myself. I want to use something more like equitable in a way, right? Because my partners are in different places, all of them have different relationships, right? It is really impossible for me to say I'm literally being exactly equal with everybody in my time. I think the key has been to find out what is going to fulfill the needs of each one of your partners in different scenarios, right? Me having a date night on Monday nights with my partner A isn't the same as me spending every weekend with partner C because we live, 5 minutes from each other, like definitely not an equal with regard to time, but I am equitable I try to be equitable in the time of like making sure that their needs are being fulfilled, and the time that we spend together is of I am present, for example, right? When I'm with partner C, that we spend a lot more time together, it's easier for me to be on the phone and message people, right? But when I go to LA to visit my partner A, for example, I'm pretty much off my phone. That is time that like I'm making sure that I am dedicating all of my attention to this person, because that's what we've talked about, to be able to work for each other, right? So like because I think that like perfect equality is maybe really difficult unless maybe you're all living together in the same place, right? And you said it right. One wants to go on a cruise, one wants to go over here, over there, right? Like, I have one partner that likes to dance. I have another one that can spend, 8 hours in front of TV playing Elden Ring, and I'm here for it. I love it. I'm a backseat gamer. I'll sit back and tell him everything he's doing wrong, you know? And that's the way that we share like some intimacy, right? Like I have another partner that I have one partner that likes to read books. I have 2 other ones that don't want to pick them up. Like I can talk to partner B about Kamala Harris and here and there and what's happening in politics, and the other 2 just don't want to hear it. Like they're
and
not.
Talk to another about Donald Trump.
So, but in those moments of like me backseat gaming, that's me validating my partner right there, right? Or me going out to dancing to a party with another one, that's me validating my partner and being equitable with time that I'm spending, making sure that I'm spending time with each one of them, kind of like fulfilling our our desires, our needs, our expectations, and kind of working on
Because I
them.
mean,
Sorry.
my partners are very different, right? So like one of them works at a gym, right? So I'm like, ooh, yes, let's do it. Haven't yet had to like spend a lot of time with him at the gym or whatever, but I really want to do it. And but he spends like a lot more time at the gym, like probably goes to the gym like 3 4 times. So I'm like, yes, let's do it. The other partner, I just have a really cute connection. Like we can talk fashion all the time. So he's like, oh, where'd you get that Coach bag? Like, I want that. Blah, blah. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh, those shoes. Wow, where'd you get those? And like, it's like, yeah, it's this hat, that hat. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so the other aspect is Joey is partner number 3. He is like a Disney kid. He used to work for Disney in Florida. So like he's really heavily into theater and film, right? So I'm not into theater. I'm not a really big theater buff. I do like going on occasion, but I'm not a big theater. I've been known to fall asleep in the theater. Depending on okay, give me that, Tyra. It was a really bad play. It was Excalibur. So starring Lou Diamond Phillips. So and I only went for him. So so basically I fell asleep in the theater and yeah, that was it. But like my husband used to do technical work for theater work. So they talk about theater all the time. Like, when they get into theater mode, I stop because I'm like, oh, they're talking about theater. They're just not talking about the movie that came from the play, talking about the actual play. So then, of course, when Joey starts talking about movies, that's when we go because he was in Hamlet too. He's an actor too. So we talk about movies all the time. So it's like each aspect, like I don't know, it's just kind of like
I have a partner
goes
that's
together.
really into theater, that's a theater kid, and that's not me. I'm all like,
I can't
show tunes
I
are not
can't
my thing.
I'm not I can't me neither. Like I can okay, the closest thing I can do is go to a piano bar. That's the closest thing I can do without dying.
But that brings me to another thing, like in a non-hierarchical polyamorous relationship like mine, I'm always sometimes also a little bit of a conductor, right? Because I especially how you were saying that the a lot of the times in polyamory the ideal is that all your partners are going to get along, but that doesn't always happen, right? And it's for a number of reasons. It's not even because they may not like each other, but there's distance, there's interests, and all the other things. So one of the things that I actively do in my relationship is I know the strong suits of my partners, right? And I know the stuff that we enjoy and don't enjoy. So it's through the process. When I say being a conductor, some would call it manip. Is my partner jokes and says I'm manip, but if I know that he likes show tunes, manip, manipulative. If I know, for example, that this partner over here loves show tunes and I hate them, and I know that this partner over here was a theater kid when he was growing up, then I plant those little seeds so that when they connect with each other, they have something to be able to chat about and kind of feel that they're at the same level. And I'm kind of on the outs because I don't really understand that part. So they're connecting on something on a friendly level that they don't share with me. And it also expands the concept of that not one person is going to be able to do everything for you, but here are my other partners being able to connect on something like that, right? And it makes it really cool, really special because again, like as a conductor, I know their strengths and kind of what I know their strengths and I know their insecurities, just like they know mine, right? So I know where to kind of like, as the person that tends to have the most experience in polyamory in my relationships and the most knowledge, and I've read the most, I tend to be the person kind of like moving the knobs a little bit here and there so that when they are in that situation, it feels much better. It feels more comfortable. They feel that they can connect on something that I don't connect, just how they sometimes may feel with me that we're connecting on different levels.
I have questions. So just only because I see a lot of okay, so there's it's only because I see a lot of similarities between Sergio and I when it comes to, as you say, manip. So my question is because I wonder if it's the same for you as it was for me. When you met your partners, were you the one putting the hook out? And you know what I mean by that.
my first two partners, it felt my first partner was with who I started kind of experiencing polyamory. We started doing it with another friend of ours. We'd all dated each other in some form, and we tried it out for a couple of months, and it didn't work out. This other person, this other, friendship, loving friendship, sexual friendship was not he decided polyamory was not for him 100%. Like, it's like, no, it's not for me. And I was able to start a new relationship with this person on there, right? My second one, we were both kind of in a setting where it led to it, so it kind of just happened. And again, this is the partner that is like the least resistance, right? We're always on the same page. And then my third partner, we started off with a power dynamic, and that turned into something romantic. So there was a lot of conversation and negotiating of how to turn that into a romantic relationship. But I'm not sure that I was putting on the hook. Like, I was.
Okay, no. Okay, I think I misinterpreted. I think I probably worded that question wrong. So I'm just gonna keep it really simple. You just tell me yes or no, Sergio, okay? Okay. So I like how you muted yourself. So, so your first poly relationship, did you make the first move or no? I
No.
can't hear you. No? Okay, the
No.
second one, yes or no?
It was equal. It kind of happened. It was kind of that moment where, like, are we? We are. Yeah, we are.
Okay, I'll accept that for now. The third one. I mean, all I'm saying is that because it seems like when you say minute, I was like, I did the same thing. Like, I kind of like plant those seeds, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I will say I am by nature very gregarious. I have like a yenta in me. I'm always wanting to connect people. I want people to get to know each other. I want people to see the beauty inside of each other. Like, if I see something beautiful in you, I want to make sure that everybody that I love sees that beauty in you as well. So I think by nature, I'm always trying to connect people, partners, sexual friendships, or something, to be like, like this is the beauty that I see in this person, and that might help you understand why I'm in love with this person as well, or why I like to connect with this person. Because I do believe that love is the one infinite thing that we have to give that is never going to run out, right? Like, and so I guess I am the connector, the one, right? Like,
I love
remember
it.
when I mentioned that I was the connector, and you're like, oh, I was like, wait a second, I know you're not doing that to me.
All right, guys, we have Daniel join us for conversation. Hi, Daniel, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I was busy. That's why I kept my
Now
camera
you're on
off.
camera, so now you're on camera.
I know, I know.
All right, I see your big comment, your big message here. Do you want to say it as you?
Oh, I was just trying to piggyback on a few things that you guys were saying. I do think that the hierarchy relationships are more noticeable when a single poly like myself, right, gets to date a couple that is already established. Because as some of you mentioned, this couple already had established something. They known each other for longer. So it's really up to the couple at that point to whether make that relationship with a new person, the third or the fourth person that they might be adding to the relationship, hierarchy or not. Because at the end of the day, I might want to have an equal relationship with the new couple, right? But the couple might not necessarily want to do that. So I feel like at that point is up to the couple that is already established to make things a little more.
But it's also up to you. What if you like only one person in this couple?
I'm putting the example based on just if you're dating a couple specifically. Of course, if you are dating someone individually, is a different situation. So, and I think that's something that were mentioned earlier, that there is so many outcomes or so many different scenarios that could happen, whether you're deciding to date one person or two people at the same time. So it would be like really difficult to have those situations where three people meet and they all three decide to start at the same time, right? A relationship between the three of them, or four people starting a relationship right then. So it has to start somewhere, right? So it starts whether you're dating one person or whether you already are in an established relationship and then you start dating someone else. So I think that at the end of the day, it has to do more on the conversations that you establish and how you want to process or move forward with the new adding, or if you are start dating. Because as a single person, you could say, okay, I want to date a couple and I want to feel equal, but that's what I want. That doesn't mean that necessarily the couple that I'm going to be dating wants that, right? So there is so many things that has to be kept in consideration. So, and it makes it difficult, I think, for everyone. It's so complicated. Poly relationships are complicated. But
I would say they're Daniel, they're complicated. I like to use the word again, reframing, like complex, right?
Yes.
Because we
That's
are
the word.
doing something that is not the norm, right? So by nature, much like being identifying as queer, you're kind of doing something kind of like on the outsides, right? So there's going to be complexity, but I think that in that complexity is a beauty, right? Like I think you're right, and it also depends on like the level of where that couple may be at. I have a very good friend of mine that was dating a couple, and the couple said that they wanted to be in a three-way, a triad type of a relationship with, but 2-3 months in, my friend is like, they may not realize it, but this is actually not what they're looking for, right? They're looking for something a little bit different. So, in that moment, the complexity of it, he had to walk in, be very aware, and be able to be like, actually, what they're looking for is maybe more of like an open relationship and a sexual friendship of somebody that's going to be there all at kind of their beck and call. But in what he was experiencing, there wasn't necessarily that equality, right? He went back and he reframed the relationship and said, it looks like this is what you guys want, and I just want to be clear. And in that moment, he kind of noticed, that they weren't really understanding the concept, and that is how he understood that this wasn't for him, and he maybe needed to walk away, because we need to meet people where they're at, right? And a lot of the times that complexity is affected by a lot of other things, like that couple not being ready. But I think that, like, in my experience, in being upfront about what you want, regardless of it, is always the beneficial way to go. Is to being upfront about what you want, regardless of what they're giving. Because if you're clear, once your expectation isn't met, it's a lot easier to kind of pick yourself in person. Pick yourself first and be like, this isn't quite for me. And it's okay. It's okay to like have trial and error, right? It's okay to have like relationships that may not work out, because I think that you do learn from them every single time. The one thing that I wanted to acknowledge, Daniel, is you're absolutely right. Like, it is very uncommon for three people to come in kind of at the same level, right? And to be able to start a relationship. When Dr. Dash asked me how I started my first full polyamorous relationship, let me show you something here, right? So this is me. Can you see Sergio and A?
It's too blurred.
Okay. So I had dated A for about 2 years. That relationship didn't work out, right? And we became best friends and ultimately established a sexual friendship here. Then there was B down here, who had dated him, right? Who had dated that person at some point while we were not together. We were going through that. This person B reached out to both of us because we did AIDS life cycle together. So we had an experience of going down to LA on our bikes, raising money, for HIV. He was direct and said, I would like to try and establish a relationship with both of you at the same time. And that is like, I had never really experienced that. We came into that equally. And when it didn't work out, we actually went through the process of all separating, And after that process, we reestablished a connection with Kirk and saying, hey, I would still like to explore polyamory with you. What does that look like? Right. But again, it was that there's that complexity, right? That complexity
Yeah.
of coming in. But the reason that we dissolved the first part is because we really wanted to be equitable with each other, right? And we both had conversations with that third person being like, is it okay if we continue to do this, right? Because we did feel a connection, right? And that's kind of like, it adds to that complexity. But that was the experience that I had at being kind of like coming into something and trying to be equal at the exact same time, all of us together.
It's just what I'm hearing is kind of consistent with my life experience. And that is that each person that I have a relationship with brings something different to the table. I don't consider it one is higher or lower than the other. Each person brings something unique. The older gentleman that I date, it's a kind of a relaxed, easygoing dating relationship. We travel together, we do stuff. But I put a paddle in his hand and said, "Would you paddle me?" And I thought the man was going to die right there. But other relationships that I have, particularly the new person that I met in Knoxville, he's very interested in handcuffs and paddles and leather and other things that I'm quite interested in. So, in terms of hierarchical, no, but in terms of uniqueness of each person that brings new value to my life, absolutely. And I think that's what everybody's saying. That's why I've been quiet, is I'm just agreeing with what everybody is saying rather than bringing something unique. That's all I wanted to say.
I wanted to add something. I realized something about myself. I think I won't be able to, me personally, because I guess I know myself a little bit, I won't be able to date a couple equally. If a couple, just anybody who watched this video, if the couple wants to approach me, I think you know what I'm you know what I'm gonna do, probably. I'm gonna find something unique in one partner, and I find something unique in another partner. So for me personally, it's gonna be hard to see them as a one beautiful piece of art, which is could be the thing, but I guess I would connect with one person on one thing, on one several things, and with another person with, you know, on some completely different things. And that might be for some couples, that might be hard experience. I don't know, because they wanna, I know, hang out with me equally at the same time and do things at the same time. But for me, it's I just trying to remember of the experiences of my life that I had, and you know, it, for me personally, it's kind of hard to treat people like equally, because what I usually, I celebrate the uniqueness of each person, you know, and that's why most of my relationship were like solo poly, meaning that I date them separately, and I don't mind for them to be friends or to be connected to each other, or on any level, anyhow. But they were so different to each other. It's even hard to imagine that they're gonna like each other on any level. You know, they might be friends to each other, they know about each other, but it's very hard to even, you know, because if I would present all of my boyfriends, you would say, oh my gosh, they're so different. Like even the way how they look, you know, like how do you even like them? Like what is your taste? What is your type? I don't have a type, you know. I like all of them, and I like the uniqueness of those people. So yeah.
Two more points I'd like to make on kind of like hierarchical relationships and polyamorous relationships. One of them is that I have seen amongst friends that have a certain level of neurodivergency, or they're neurospicy, one would say, where having some sort of a hierarchical structure is beneficial and works for them to be able to understand exactly how the relationship functions. So there are really great examples out there of romantic hierarchical polyamorous relationships, in which when agreed by the parts, right, it is fundamental to how they're able to react, because it does establish a certain kind of like expectation of maybe time or presence or intimacy or things like that, right? And then
Almost everyone I know who's poly is neurospicy.
Yeah, there is a big population of that. You're absolutely right when I look around, right? And I think that on the same note of that, that neurospiciness kind of puts you into a little bit of a further category out, right? Something different, which is why we probably find the ability to explore polyamory so beneficial, right? And the second one is, I'll take it back to what I was kind of started the conversation with earlier today, was about specifically power dynamics within kink, BDSM, and leather, right? That is a whole other form of relationships that you can have that sometimes have hierarchical, have a hierarchical kind of like note to it. So, for example, in the example of a couple that's bringing a third in, and maybe they think they want to be polyamorous with this person, right? Maybe it's not polyamory. Maybe what it is that they're kinky and they want to have a boy that's kind of at their beck and call. That's a power dynamic that can be negotiated, that has a level of hierarchy, that this person coming into the relationship knows that this is kind of a primary relationship, right? And there's a certain role this person is fulfilling, and that there's beauty in that, right? There is beauty in establishing that consensual hierarchy between people in different ways as well. So, like, keeping in mind that, like, there is room, but the relationships poly is so complex that there is room for other dynamics like hierarchy to be within them, depending on where you're at with, rather like specifically mentioned BDSM community, kink community, fetish community, like that. So there's the concepts of service, the concepts of submission, the concepts of gratitude, right? And kink praise kink, and all these other things that kind of go into it that kind of allow for very fruitful, very healthy, validating types of power dynamics and relationships that may not necessarily fall as a romantic one, but that I also consider to be part of my polyamorous journey.
Well, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us for this episode, for this conversation. I wanted to say, I mean, I have some experience in polyamory, right? It's about 3+ years, but I wanted to say this topic is just killing my mind. And I hope that, our stream and our chat, will kind of simplify the idea and how everything works. I know it might sound maybe complicated for people who just, on the beginning of their polyamory journey. It's just clear and understandable. But I hope through our experiences and our conversation, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to understand. You can always rewind and watch it again, or even put your questions, down in the comments below under this video. And you can ask any questions or any concerns or any topics around polyamory, and we will be happy to discuss on the next episodes. That's going to be it for tonight. Thank you again for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel to see our next episodes in the future. And again, my name is Oleg, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you.